Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to another episode of Wrestling This or That. This is the series where I ask you 15 different wrestling-related questions on social media for you to answer. We then analyze the answers, we see what the most popular answer was, and then I'll tell you whether I agree or disagree with the masses. And then I'll tell you why I agree or why I disagree. This is a fun video to do once a month on a Friday. I like these. And as always, don't forget to subscribe to the channel, ring the bell for notifications. If you're a wrestling fan, you're gonna fall in love with his YouTube channel because we always upload daily wrestling content. And don't forget the Patreon, patreon.com/SantiZap, where you get even more wrestling content that we never upload here on YouTube. I'm talking about my Raw reviews, the SmackDown reviews, the current going Undertaker streak watch along that leads into WrestleMania 41, the current Royal Rumble watch alongs that leads into the 2025 Royal Rumble, the 5 Wrestling is Cool Match Club watch alongs where you vote on the matches that we watch that week, and the podcast 3 days earlier than everywhere else. So come check it out. Patreon.com/SantiZap, link in the description, link in the pinned comment. You already know the drill. Go check it out. Now let's get to the video. Is Kevin Owens the hero or the villain of his story? So this one is fascinating because out of all of the questions that I asked in this month's This or That, this was far and away the closest one. It's basically tied right down the middle, with Hero getting the slight victory with just 50.9% of the votes. And frankly, I can't blame the community for being this split down the middle with this question, because that's kind of what the WWE is going for. Because when it comes to the Kevin Owens character in this story, the WWE has truly blurred the lines between a traditional WWE heel and a traditional WWE babyface. Because when you look at Kevin Owens, he's neither the twirl your mustache evildoer of the WWE, while he also isn't the do-gooder kiss babies on the forehead good guy that we're used to seeing. That's why this question is more complex than just the black and white binary question of hero or villain, because I could genuinely sit here and make a 15 to 20 minute video essay telling you why Kevin Owens is the hero, while I could also make the very same length amount of essay and tell you that he's the villain of the tale, and I would be right in both accounts. And that's because when it comes to a morality standpoint, Kevin Owens actually lies closer to vigilante than he does to hero or villain. In a vigilante, depending on the point of view of whoever is watching that vigilante's tale, is either the hero or the villain. That's what Kevin Owens is. Think of the Punisher, for example, a guy that in the traditional sense of society is an evil guy because he's willing to kill people, but in the eyes of the reader and the eyes of the viewer, he's killing the correct people, so he's the hero. It's almost like Kevin Owens is right, but in the eyes of the storytellers, he's the villain. He is the heel. Actually, I feel like the closest comic book character right now to Kevin Owens, believe it or not, is Ultron from Avengers Age of Ultron, who was right. That character predicted everything that was wrong with the planet and with that entire universe, and he was in the right. But the way he went about things and the way he was painted in the story, he was the villain of that movie. And that's what Kevin Owens is. Because I think that most people would argue that Kevin Owens is in the right. He was the hero of the tale all along, partnered up with another hero of the tale in Cody Rhodes. And all of a sudden, that other hero aligns with the big bad that those two originally came together to try and topple in Roman Reigns. And you can't even make the argument that, well, Roman has changed his ways. Has he? He hasn't really changed the heck of a whole lot. So I don't blame Kevin Owens for all of the sudden seeing Cody Rhodes as part of the problem, as being aligned with the big bad evil that the heroes originally got together to topple. But the way that he's going about things, the way that he's attacked somebody that's kind of neutral in this story, like Randy Orton, definitely paints Kevin Owens to be the villain of this tale. So again, I think it's far more complex than just hero or villain, but the way that from a character point of view and how he's being written and how he's perceived by the viewers and how he's supposed supposed to be perceived by the viewers, it's supposed to be villain. So I'm gonna go with villain in this poll. Who gets inducted in the WWE Hall of Fame first, John Cena or Batista? So the majority of you went with John Cena, winning with 75% of the votes. And I'm inclined to agree, which is kind of crazy considering Batista has been retired for longer. Batista is also a surefire first ballot Hall of Famer in the WWE, and they've already tried to induct Batista into the WWE Hall of Fame, but timings and schedules just didn't work out. So logic would dictate that it's probably going to be Batista, but because of the current context that we have, which is John Cena being in the WWE, about to do his retirement tour, and the fact that we have precedent that WWE will induct people that are currently active with the WWE into the Hall of Fame, like they did with Rey Mysterio, tells me that there's a really good chance that John Cena is going to get inducted as early as right before WrestleMania 41. And that could really kick off like the major portions of his retirement tour, because he wouldn't just be retiring as John Cena, he'd be retiring as John Cena, the WWE Hall of Famer. And if not his retirement tour, then maybe he does it after his retirement tour. But in both scenarios, I feel like those are both earlier than what WWE can do with Batista, because Batista is now fully into the world of Hollywood, and it's probably really difficult to find a time to actually schedule him to come in to do the Hall of Fame ceremony. So I'm going to agree with the masses here. I'm going to go with John Cena gets inducted first. Who is The Rock's first singles opponent, Roman Reigns or Cody Rhodes? So the majority of the people here went with Roman Reigns with 56.5% of the votes. And here's the thing, like if there is a guaranteed match that The Rock is going to have, it's going to be Roman Reigns versus The Rock. Like that one to me is the most guaranteed. However, if we live in a world where both are guaranteed, I feel like the match against Cody Rhodes happens first. And maybe it happens in the lead up to WrestleMania, and then that leads into The Rock versus Roman Reigns, because The Rock versus Roman Reigns, that's the WrestleMania match. Like, I think we can all agree on that. But just the way that The Rock was looking at Cody's title in the night after WrestleMania 40, their interaction, the fact that The Rock said he wasn't done with Cody Rhodes, kind of tells me that that match is inevitably going to happen. And if it's inevitable, I think that it's inevitably before the match against Roman Reigns. So I'm going to say it's Cody Rhodes that happens first. Which NXT international signee has impressed you more, Julia or Stephanie Vaquer? So this one was pretty close too, but with 54.6% of the votes, the winner of this poll was Stephanie Vaquer. And I feel like you could kind of go with either one. They've both been great, but I have been slightly more impressed with Stephanie Vaquer, at the very least from an in-ring point of view. I will say that the presentation of Julia overall has been better. That entrance theme that WWE gave Julia is just incredible. But when I look at the quality of matches that we've had so far and who's shown out better, I would say that that goes to Stephanie Vaquer. So I'm going to agree with the majority here, Stephanie Vaquer. Do we need a second women's mid-card belt on the main roster? So the majority of the people at 70.6% of the votes said that yes, we do need a second women's mid-card belt on the main roster. And I'm willing to agree. However, I don't think that we need it necessarily on day one. And I say this because we have the women's tag team belts, and now we're going to have the women's United States Championship belt. And if they were both to be floaters, then we would have an equal amount of women's mid-card action happening on both shows. And we have precedent before. When the WWE reintroduced the women's championship into the WWE in the mid-2010s, they didn't immediately introduce the Raw and the SmackDown women's title. It took a little while for them to introduce the second women's championship belt. And I feel like they might be willing to do that. Like they're going to run with the US championship belt, see how that goes. And then once they have a good idea and a good blueprint as to how to run a successful women's mid-card division, maybe they introduce the women's intercontinental championship belt. I'd be okay with that too. So I don't think that we need it day one, but ultimately my response is eventually I feel like we should have too. The roster is big enough to absolutely be able to foster a healthy women's mid-card across both shows, while also being able to foster a healthy women's tag team division across all three shows if we keep that afloat, or that even goes into NXT. So I'm going to agree. The answer is yes, but mine comes with the asterisk that it doesn't have to be on day one. Who turns heel first, Jade Cargill or Bianca Belair? Majority of you went with Jade Cargill, 78.3% of the vote, and I feel like that's the the obvious choice. I feel like you got to go with Jade Cargill. There is, don't get me wrong, something interesting and intriguing about a heel Bianca Belair, mostly because we've never seen one on the main roster. We've seen heel Bianca in NXT, but in this ecosystem of the grandioseness of Raw, SmackDown, WrestleMania, the limelight, we haven't seen Bianca really go into the dark side. Here's the thing though, Jade Cargill was not that long ago a heel in AEW, and I just feel like she would just be the right choice here. And I just feel like Bianca Belair is just too popular and too ingrained as a pillar of baby faces in the WWE to turn her into a heel. It's not that far off from Cody Rhodes or John Cena, like just these guys that are forever baby faces. I think that that's Bianca Belair as well. So I'm going to agree with the masses. I'm going to go with Jade Cargill too. It's a Friday video, which means I always give you my 3 picks for this weekend's NFL betting on my bookie. Feel free to follow along with my picks because I think I got some good ones this week. And if you do go to my bookie, make sure that you use my code Santi, because if you use my code, then my bookie will match your initial deposit. So if you deposit 50, they'll give you another 50 to bet with. I have the Detroit Lions covering this insane 14-point spread against the Jacksonville Jaguars. The Jags are just terrible. I'm taking Indianapolis Colts +4 against the Jets. Why are the Jets favored by 4 points here? They've done nothing this season to warrant being a favorite in any matchup, let alone by more than a field goal. So I'm taking Indianapolis to prevent the 4-point spread. And I think it's time. I think it's time that the Chiefs finally lose, and I think Buffalo hands them their first loss by at least a field goal or more. Again, if you want these exact same odds, then you need to go to my bookie. Go check it out. Link in the description for you. All right, back to the video. Which twin has the better entrance theme, Jey Uso or Jimmy Uso? With 73.9% of the votes, the majority went with Jey Uso. So here's what I've learned from this poll. 73.9% of you are deaf. Are you kidding me? This wasn't a popularity contest as who you like more, Jay or Jimmy. It's an objective truth that as a song, Jimmy's is so much better. Jey Uso's theme is catchy and it's inducive of a pop, but Jimmy's song is an absolute certified banger. Like, I, in public, would not want to be caught listening to Jey Uso's theme, but if somebody grabbed the aux cord and all of a sudden it was playing Jimmy's song, I wouldn't be ashamed of that. I'd be like, yeah, that's a good WWE song. You're all mostly wrong here, all right? I'm with the 26.1% here. Jimmy's is an objectively better entrance theme. What sound does Undertaker's bell make? A gong or a dong? And I'm so happy that 61% of the people went with gong. And I'm asking you this question because we had this debate on the Wrestling is Cool podcast. It kind of sounds like a dong, but there's no way it's Undertaker's dong. No. That's a gong for sure. Now, when I try to verbalize the sound, when I try to mimic Undertaker's theme, I don't go gong. I do actually go dung. So maybe it is a dong, but no, I refuse to say it's Undertaker's dong. This is Undertaker's gong. Money in the Bank should be its own premium live event or be at WrestleMania. Money in the Bank should be its own premium live event or be at WrestleMania. So 69% nice of the people went with it should be its own WWE premium live event. And I'm going to disagree here. Now that WrestleMania is 2 nights, it is perfect for Money in the Bank. One of the nights, the men's, one of the nights, the women's. Bada bing, bada boom, realest guys in the room, how you doing? I like the concept of having an entire WWE premium live event, but I also like the idea of the WWE Money in the Bank briefcase contract starting and ending on WrestleMania. There's just something magical about that. And having 2 ladder matches at WrestleMania, like, just by default is gonna make WrestleMania just so much more memorable too. So I'm gonna go with let's bring Money in the Bank back to WrestleMania. I don't think that it needs its own premium live event. I feel like that premium live event slot, you could still host an awesome premium live event that doesn't have to be centered around the Money in the Bank briefcase. Plus, when somebody wins the Money in the Bank briefcase, say at WrestleMania, it feels like more of a star-making moment, like a bigger seal of approval, a bigger stamp of approval from the WWE that this person, this is our next guy, that this is our next girl, because not only are we giving them the briefcase, we are giving them a WrestleMania moment. So I'm going with WrestleMania. I'm going with the minority here. The better era of WWE is the current era or the Attitude Era. So I'm not shocked that the majority of the people, 71.5% of the votes, went to the current era, because I just feel like the majority of the people that use social media to be able to vote in the first place probably fall in line with being of age that probably weren't around for the Attitude Era. Now, don't get me wrong. I really wasn't around for the Attitude Era. I only caught like the last year of the Attitude Era into the Ruthless Aggression Era, but I just feel like you have to go with the current era. I feel like you could absolutely make a strong argument for either one in terms of like overall star power, moments, the roster, but where the current era wins, and doesn't even just win by a little, it wins by a mother trucking landslide. It's women's wrestling. Like, women's wrestling was just not a thing in the Attitude Era. It didn't exist. It was a sideshow. Well, now women's wrestling is fucking awesome. It sometimes steals the show, like at the Royal Rumble, Elimination Chamber, Money in the Bank. They just have the better gimmick matches and they have great stories. So pretty much because of women's wrestling being infinitely better in today's landscape, I'm going to give the victory to the current era of professional wrestling. Who do you miss more, Shane McMahon or Becky Lynch? So the majority of the people went with Becky Lynch at 82.7% of the votes. So I put these two together because they seem to have been all of a sudden hated by the community. Like, people really started disliking Becky Lynch towards the end. So I wanted to see, out of the two people that people turned sour on before they left the WWE, who would they want to see back more? And it looks like vast majority went with Becky Lynch. And I don't blame you. Becky Lynch would offer so much more to the WWE than Shane McMahon. It just kind of sucks that the last visual that we have of Shane McMahon is this dude just destroying his quads and his knees at WrestleMania 39. I feel like he deserves a slightly better send-off than being Kevin Nash on the biggest stage of them all. But yeah, the answer is Becky Lynch. Becky Lynch is sorely missed in my opinion. Who should announce WrestleMania? Mike Rome, Lillian Garcia, or Alicia Taylor? So the majority of the people, with 56.7% of the votes here, went with Lillian Garcia, and I'm going to disagree. I'm going to go with Mike Rome. Mike Rome has been doing the PLEs like he just did Crown Jewel, and it was a quick reminder how goddamn good Mike Rome is. Like, he is him. I feel like a lot of people forgot how damn good Mike Rome is simply because of all of the limelight that Samantha Irvin was getting. But in my opinion, Samantha Irvin and Mike Rome were always tied. It's just that the bigger moments were always given to Samantha Irvin. So I'm going to go with Mike Rome. He is killing it with NXT, but we know he's got the pipes, bro. This guy absolutely should be the head announcer for WrestleMania. Wouldn't mind seeing Lillian and Alicia as well, like doing their own matches, maybe from their respective brands. But like, I feel like the big matches Mike Rome should do. Who wins a mid-card title first, Chelsea Green or Ludwig Kaiser? So I feel like these are both kind of like the workhorse darlings right now of the mid-card, that I think a lot of people see mid-card championship potential, and now we can really have this conversation because the women's mid-card belt is in play. Ludwig Kaiser isn't that far removed from the mid-card championship either. He's feuding with Sheamus. Sheamus is feuding with Braun Breaker. It's a very simple transition for Ludwig Kaiser to enter the fray after Sheamus, or maybe into a triple threat scenario. Meanwhile, we don't really know yet, as of the making of this video, what the landscape of the women's mid-card looks like. Is Chelsea Green even in the picture? God damn it, I would hope that she is. It would be a huge mistake if she's not, but we don't know. So right now, at the very least, as of the making of this video, in terms of gravitational pull, Ludwig is actually closer to the mid-card title than Chelsea Green is. But now that that women's mid-card title is looming, I have no choice but to just bet that the WWE is going to make the right choice and give this to Chelsea Green. I'm gonna go with Chelsea Green before Ludwig Kaiser. Who was wasted more by WWE? The Hurt Business or Keith Lee? So with 57.3% of the votes, the majority went with Keith Lee. And I agree, although I think that both of them were severely misused. It's kind of funny to say that the Hurt Business was misused because they had the WWE champion in the group, they had tag team champions in the group, but it still just sort of felt like they were never really given the right opportunity and the proper chance to become an iconic stable. It just sort of felt like there was always an end date with them, and that WWE was now willing to compromise on that end date. That when it was time in their mind to end the Hurt Business, we were ending the Hurt Business, even though collectively, like the majority of fans agreed, they were wrong. Like they still had so much more meat left on the bone of the Hurt Business that they could be one of those factions that's still around today. And it's actually a shame as to when the Hurt Business was created, because had it been created under Triple H, I feel like it would still be a top stable in today's landscape, because one of the things that Triple H is really good at is giving stables the time to marinate and the time to grow. Meanwhile, Vince McMahon was just so quick and trigger happy to just end things that he felt weren't necessarily always working at the right time. But you look at, say, like Damage Control, the Latino World Order, even Judgment Day. A lot of people thought that those factions just weren't working, but Triple H allowed them to continue to try and flourish until they eventually did. And it would have been nice to see a Hurt Business under Triple H. But Keith Lee, bro, like they just did him dirty from beginning to end. Like truly one of the most mishandled, amazing talents that the WWE had. It is such a shame. The answer is Keith Lee here. Again, I think the Hurt Business was severely misused, but it's Keith Lee. Dominik Mysterio is beautiful, handsome, gorgeous, or adorable. To a degree, all of these are correct, but I'm inclined to go with beautiful. Look, I feel like you could be handsome, gorgeous, and adorable, but there's something about the word beautiful that really transcends pretty much time and space. Because when you talk about the words handsome, gorgeous, and adorable, these are things that are relegated to just mere humans. Meanwhile, Dominik Mysterio is on par with the beauty of the Milky Way galaxy, the beauty of the oceans, the beauty of nature, the beauty of life itself. To me, that's where we need to start talking about Dominik Mysterio, where he transcends humanity itself with his beauty. All right, folks, thank you so much for playing this month. We'll do this again next month, but we'll see you next time. All right, bye. Get out of here.